So today I want to talk about the RAM choices available with the new M1 MacBooks. You have the option of configuring both the new Air and the Pro with up to 16 GB of RAM, up from the standard 8 GB. In terms of everyday performance, does 8 GB RAM feel enough? Let's find out. My name is Ashish and I've chosen the Air over the Pro this time, although for the past 8 years I have been a MacBook Pro user. I like the wedge-shaped design and the lightweight of the Air more than the Pro this time around, and the excellent thermal performance of these laptops means that I can do most of my everyday tasks without the need for an active cooling system. So let's get one thing out of the way first. More RAM is almost always beneficial. However, as you will see in the rest of this video, the impact of having more RAM is less pronounced in the new M1 Macs under certain conditions. So do watch till the end to get a complete picture. If you're interested in knowing about other issues currently affecting the M1 MacBooks, do check out my video on this, linked in the description below. To understand the working of RAM on the M1, know that although the M1 still use DDR4 memory, it is attached and almost indistinguishable from the CPU itself. That means super snappy access to the RAM for the system for CPU and GPU tasks. Moreover, for the past 10 years, Macs have used speedy SSD inside them, and these new systems make use of these fast SSDs for swap files that can quickly take data off the main memory. In the past, on baseline Mac models, the RAM was under pressure not just from the system tasks, but also the typically weak integrated GPUs that came with Intel chips. This time, although the memory is still shared in a similar fashion, the story is completely different. We have a beast of an SoC, the M1, that has the GPU capabilities roughly equivalent to 2-year-old discrete graphics found in 15-inch MacBook Pros. In fact, I compared it to my 15-inch MacBook Pro in another video, so do check that out if you're interested in a direct comparison. So what does the tight integration of memory and powerful SoC combination translate into? Let's jump into the system and simulate a typical workflow and see how the system copes. Also note that though this example uses video and photo editing software to create the workflow, you can substitute them for your own work apps that may be similarly resource intensive. Okay, so we're currently recording the screen. We've got 5 tabs open in Chrome. I've got a Pages document open which I'm using to write a script. And we've got the activity monitor open here. So you can see the memory pressure currently, and it's kind of staying pretty much stable. And we've got, basically we're using around 6.66 GB of the memory. You can see here CleanMyMac uses quite a bit of memory. It's using 1.23 GB there, but we'll leave that running for this test just to simulate a normal working environment. And then we'll open Final Cut Pro, and you can see the speed with which it opens on an M1 Mac in these kind of situations. Okay, there we are. There's a project that's opened right now. So we'll try and edit this project itself. Now this project is actually residing on a spinning hard drive. So the performance in Final Cut Pro will not be as snappy as if I was editing off the internal SSD or the T5 SSD. But I just wanted to see how a spinning external hard drive behaves when I connect it to Final Cut Pro. So let's just do a little bit of editing and see how the system performs. And this is the 512 GB variant with 8 GB of RAM, the MacBook Air. I've connected it to a BenQ 32-inch 4K display. So obviously it's pushing a lot of pixels there as well. And the MacBook's internal screen is currently off. So let's just see how it performs in this environment. So without further ado, let's get into the unboxing, like so. And the Garmin Fenix 6X is revealed for the first time. Let's slowly lift it off. And we can take this packaging away, off, and we can take off. So I'll insert a cut here and another one here, and I'll detach the audio, delete that bit and speed up this footage. let's just say twice. And then let's try and play this back.
Let's slowly lift it off, and we can take this, lift it off, and we can take this packaging away.
Okay, no problem so far. So we'll insert another cut here and get rid of this bit.
And let's look at what else comes in. And let's
so maybe trim this bit a little bit.
Let's look at what else comes in the box.
So you can see it was skipping frames just there a little bit.
Let's look at what else comes in the box.
But now it's stabilized.
Get this box with, and besides that you get.
Okay, so now we've got, as you can see, the heavy memory usage prompt from CleanMyMac, and it's saying that it's completely full, almost full. So I'm just going to ignore that for the moment.
6X series, and besides that you've got.
So we'll just trim a little bit more here. Okay, so this is the problem I was talking about. We've lost audio now. Sometimes when you make cuts in Final Cut Pro, it just loses all audio. So now whatever I might do, it will not produce any audio. The only time the audio will return is if I completely quit this program and come back. Just to show, I'm playing it back, nothing's coming through. Full screen, as you can see. The video is playing, but we've lost the audio. So the only way to bring back the audio now is to actually quit the program. So which is what we'll do. So I'll quit Final Cut Pro completely. And then I'll reopen it again. And hopefully that should restore the audio. And let's play back.
And then you've got beat here.
So you can see that the audio was lost there, and then we had to quit Final Cut Pro to bring audio back.
Phoenix 6X series. This connector will connect to charge your watch. Now let's peel off the actual sticker to reveal the bezel.
So as you can see, this is probably due to the spinning hard drive that the performance takes a split second longer to catch up. So this is nothing to do with the M1 Mac. So rest assured that this is just because it's connected to a slower USB 3 drive that it's behaving in this fashion.
Now let's try it on to see how this feels on the hand.
So it's handling the sped up footage quite well. So no issues there.
Yeah, the actual strap is quite comfortable.
So let's trim that bit a little bit, and I'll try adding a transition here, because sometimes there's a problem when you add transitions with this computer. So I'll add a cube transition here, and let's see what happens.
The rugged yet sophisticated design features a large...
So you can see it's stuttering there, and it's just given a warning here. Video frames were dropped during playback. Now, I mean, there could be several reasons for this. Let's see what's happening with the memory. Okay, the memory pressure, we see a couple of spikes there. And currently it's using almost the same amount of swap as it's using the memory. Final Cut Pro is not using too much here. It's only about 1 GB of RAM. But it's already spiked twice. The memory pressure is definitely increasing. So let's try another transition here. Let's drop that in there. And let's try playing that back. Okay, so it's not played that at all. It's kind of got stuck, it looks like. Yeah, it has. Let's see what's happening with the memory. Final Cut Pro 1.32 GB there. So again, we're using 5.43 GB of swap file, 6.47, 6.39 now of the main memory. Let's try playing that back again. It's not playing that back at all. Let's try full screen. So as you can see that Final Cut Pro right now is struggling. This is what happens oftentimes when you add transitions in any way or form. If you make the timeline a little bit more complicated than just a single clip being edited and trimmed, it does have these issues. So I mean, there isn't, let me see what's going on here. Everything, it appears to be idle for the moment. I think we've just reached the limits of the M1 chip with the 8 GB of RAM. Yeah, so I think we'll have to just quit this program and then hope that it comes back. Okay, and we're starting the program again. Let's see how it performs this time. So I'll try and play that back again, and this time it will include the transition, the new transition that we've just added.
Military standards for thermal shock and water resistance. Fit the look to your lifestyle with your choice of stain.
So I don't know if you could notice that, but it was really slow, stuttery. It didn't really show us the correct playback for that transition. And just to show you what setting we're on here, we're on better performance and optimized media. We're using optimized media, so we're not even in the better quality section here. And the Mac has become quite laggy. You can see that the mouse is laggy now, so it highlights this field, but if I move too quickly, it will, see, it's kind of laggy at this stage. And let me go and see what's happening with the memory monitor. Again, we've spiked here. A lot more memory is being used, 7.26 GB. Final Cut Pro is using 1.78 at the moment.
Fit the look to your lifestyle with your shock and water resistance. Fit the look to your...
So it did play that back correctly now. I think it had some time to render it. And let's just see what's happening with the CPU here. So the CPU load isn't too much. It's only using less than 20% of the CPU. So that's good. So what we'll do is we'll try and open Lightroom, Adobe Lightroom Classic as well now, and see what effect that has on the memory. Okay, so Final Cut is already open, and we've just opened Adobe Photoshop Lightroom Classic. So there is beach balls. If someone said to you that there's no beach balls with the M1, that's not true. You still get beach balls. And let's see what's happening with the memory pressure now. Yeah, it's a little bit more, but again, we're using a lot of the swap file, as you can see right there. Adobe Lightroom Classic is from the start using 2.3 GB. So a lot more resource intensive, it seems like. So let me go to the library and we'll try and import some photographs. So I've actually attached another hard disk. I've attached the Samsung T5 drive here. So let me try and import these photos into Lightroom Classic now. And just to see how the M1 MacBook Air performs. So let's see what happens when I click on import, how this performs. So I'll import them into this catalog. So the operation itself seems to be quite quick. It hasn't discernibly slowed down. So it's handling this quite well, I would say. We try and edit in Final Cut Pro at the same time. Let's see what happens.
Each Sapphire edition adds a scratch, shock and water resistance. Fit the look to your lifestyle with your choice of stainless steel or DLC coated bezels. Each Sapphire edition adds a scratch resistant sapphire lens and premium materials. Now quickly talking...
I'll do a little bit of trimming here.
Now quickly talking about the main features of this.
So obviously it's skipping frames now.
And premium materials. Now quickly talking about the...
Let's add another cut there. So it's not a very smooth experience.
Now quickly talking about the main features of this watch. It comes with an accurate wrist-based heart rate sensor and pulse oximeter. It offers...
Obviously the spinning hard drive is playing a role here, and it obviously affects performance a little bit, but for the most part this is down to the CPU and the memory. Let's see what's happening with the activity monitor. Oh, we've got several peaks here. So whilst it was, it's almost 7 GB used, so there's hardly any memory in here, and nearly 8 GB of swap file is being used. And so I mean, we're really at the limits of what this can do. I will do another torture test now. So let us export these images. So I'll export them onto the internal SSD, and basically I'll just leave it at 100% quality. We're not doing any changes whatsoever. Actually, let me first select all of them. And we'll be exporting that. So basically no changes whatsoever, no changes applied in Lightroom. Quality 100%, exporting them to JPEG. The location is inside the internal SSD. I'll hit export there. So it's 234 files to export. So it started exporting that, and whilst it's doing that in the background, let's try and see if I can still edit in Final Cut Pro.
It offers grade adjusted pacing guidance when you're out on a run.
So as you can see, it's really struggling now with the Final Cut Pro, and let's see what Lightroom Classic is doing. It won't even open. I can see the progress bar is hardly moved on the icon here. So yeah, it's taking its time here. If we go back to Final Cut, oh, there's the beach ball. There's the dreaded beach ball. Anyway, it's at least open Final Cut Pro. If we try and play back again between the clips,
you can sync your...
Okay, it's completely skipping frames and not performing well. Let's see what's happening with the activity monitor. Okay, brilliant. So you can see this is a very good example. 5 GB of RAM being used by Lightroom Classic and Final Cut Pro just under 1 GB, but we're completely peaking. The memory pressure is almost too much for the system to handle. So it's almost using 16 GB of combined swap file and physical memory. So this is the kind of situation, if you're planning to do this, you know, if you're planning to, which ideally we shouldn't be doing, we shouldn't be running both programs simultaneously. But if you're wanting to do that, or if you ever find yourself in that situation with Google Chrome open with some tabs, let's see if it's closed any of the tabs in Google Chrome. It normally closes tabs in Safari. I just want to see if it's done that in Google Chrome. No, that doesn't appear to be the case. Oh, it has. So it has killed the pages inside Google Chrome, as you can see. That one has not been killed. That one has been killed. So as you can see that it will not keep pages loaded in the memory at this kind of pressure. It will have to reload it. And by this time the system is quite stuttery. So if you have this kind of a workflow with 2 heavy programs, Final Cut Pro and Adobe Lightroom Classic, running at the same time, one exporting images, the other one editing video, well, 8 GB is nowhere near enough. So if we open the activity monitor, okay, you can see that the memory is completely peaked at this time. Lightroom Classic is using about 5 GB of memory here. So we've really hit the limits of what the 8 GB MacBook Air M1 can achieve. At this time, we've made it come to a halt. It's not moving at all. Still quite impressive for such a thin and lightweight machine, but I normally wouldn't use that in this way. There's the beach ball, there's the dreaded beach ball. Final Cut Pro at this stage is unusable. As you can see, the memory pressure is completely at its peak. It's almost using the entire amount of physical memory that it has, and that is making the system ground to a halt. So if you see here, Final Cut Pro is rendering in the background, and the export of the 234 raw images is happening. Both programs are struggling at this stage. And this is not something that is extremely torturous. We haven't got 500 Chrome tabs open. We haven't got many Safari tabs open. We've only got 5 Chrome tabs open. We're not even playing a video inside them. One's just a shopping website, 2 tabs for that. We've got 1 single YouTube tab, and that also has been killed by the system. We're obviously rendering in Final Cut Pro, and in the background Adobe Lightroom Classic is exporting raw images. So I think we'll put it out of its misery. We will, as you can see, once again, if you wanted to have a look, the memory pressure is completely at its max. It's completely maxed out. So it takes very little for you to actually stall this MacBook. If you were under the impression that the M1 Max was simply infallible, it's not true. It's relatively quite easy if you have another big program in the background, especially with the 8 GB variant. So hopefully this will show you now if you need the 16 GB of RAM, or if you're a person who likes to focus on one program at a time, then obviously you will have very little to complain about with the 8 GB of RAM variant. So what can we summarize from all this? Well, first the facts. 8 GB of RAM was not sufficient to leave free memory whilst using typical tasks in 2020, and it still isn't. If you get the 8 GB RAM variant of these machines, then you will always be using the swap file on the SSD. Typically at any given point, you will be having only about 1.5 to 2 GB of RAM showing free in the activity monitor. Swap file usage will vary, but rest assured that this has no discernible effect on the health of your SSD, even over many years, so you can put those fears to rest. The great news is that the M1 MacBooks are excellent at RAM management. We saw that during usage, it will adopt various measures to ensure that your experience using macOS is not affected, even with lots of apps open in the background. Some of these are quite atypical for a Mac and more akin to iOS, such as closing inactive background tabs in Safari and Chrome. But the fact of the matter is that most people buying these MacBook Airs will not use them anywhere near the limit, even in terms of memory. That means for everyday tasks like web browsing, email, Zoom video calls, watching videos, etc., the MacBook Air or Pro or even the Mini will never slow down because of the number of programs and apps open, even with the 8 GB of RAM version. Now some more credit is due here to the M1 chip again. Apparently each single core of this superb chip is capable of saturating the memory controller. Average memory copy speeds reach nearly 60 GB per second with this SoC, and that is a stunning result. I'll link the Anand Tech article in the description below so you can read about this further if you wish. But in layman terms, what this means is that the M1 based Macs have super speedy CPUs that have super speedy access to RAM, hence their stunning performance. So where did the problems occur? Well, we saw that photo editing programs can easily use close to 6 GB of RAM, especially when exporting photos. What this means for the 8 GB RAM variants of the MacBook Air, Pro or Mini is that these computers become unusable whilst exporting and photo editing programs for anything else. So if you're able to pause your workflow whilst working on such programs, you will be fine. The export will take reasonable amount of time and you can go back to the other apps once it's done. If, however, you do wish to multitask, then the 16 GB RAM option becomes a must-have. It will allow you to work in more than one app simultaneously and not slow down the system in the process. Now, note here that apart from these unoptimized photo editing apps, and that too whilst they're exporting, there is almost never a problem with the system slowing down. So you have to apply these findings to your own use case scenario. Look at what you intend to do with your computer and make an informed choice based on that. Just a small personal note here on why I chose the 8 GB RAM variant. The primary reasons were speed of delivery and cost. Naturally, I wanted the computer as quickly as possible to review for this channel. And secondly, I wanted to keep the cost down since there are bigger and faster Mac computers coming soon. So this won't be my only MacBook in the future. But it does make a perfect travel computer, and because I use it efficiently by focusing on not more than one resource hungry app at one time, I have been completely able to replace my 15-inch MacBook Pro 2018 with this. Given a choice and delivery time not being an issue, would I choose the 16GB RAM variant? Yes, certainly, in a heartbeat without further thoughts. Do I face slowdowns every day in my usage? Almost never, because I almost never use the computer in the way shown in the example. I don't do photo and video editing simultaneously, and for all other multitasking, the computer handles apps like a champ. And here I'd like to add that none of this is meant to discourage you from buying an M1 Mac, far from it. In fact, these are the only Macs worth buying anymore for most people. I love using them, but this is a video that I wish I had seen before I made this purchase, so I'm hoping it will help at least some people who have a similar dilemma. So, time for the conclusion. This year, these baseline Mac computers can do a lot more than what they could previously. So, even if you thought these would not suffice, you will be surprised by the amount of work you can do on them. But if you know that you need 16GB of RAM, don't try to convince yourself to go for anything less than that. The M1 is a revolution, but it can't beat what is a matter of simple mathematics. For most people, laptops are still a purchase they make for a good few years, and you should look at your requirements and use these findings to make an informed decision. Be sure to check out my other videos about the M1 machines that cover everything from how they look, the storage, the potential issues, and how they stack up against beefier MacBooks. All links in the description below. Let me know in the comments section if you found this video useful and what variant you decided upon. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next one.